If a mass airflow sensor is malfunctioning, the vehicle's ECU will be unable to accurately control fuel injection, resulting in an engine that may idle roughly, hesitate, or exhibit poor gas mileage, among other issues. Since faulty spark plugs, wires, ignition coils, or injectors can cause these same symptoms, mass airflow sensor failure can be difficult to diagnose. We have some expert advice to help diagnose MAF failure, including what to look out for and how to replace it when it fails. Hi, I'm Connor for Delphi, and let's start with some of the common codes for a faulty MAF sensor. If the MIL light comes on and your diagnostic tool reveals one of these diagnostic trouble codes, using the scan tool data and a flowchart can help identify the error and lead to a fix. But sometimes there isn't a code or MIL light to guide you, so here are some symptoms that may indicate a failing MAF sensor. If the engine runs rich or lean, the MAF sensor may be misreporting airflow into the engine. A diagnostic procedure will be required to confirm this. If the engine runs rich at idle or lean under load, it could mean there's a problem with the MAF sensor. If the engine has a rough idle or stalls, a faulty MAF sensor may be sending inaccurate airflow information to the ECU, which prevents it from properly controlling fuel delivery. Other symptoms of a faulty MAF sensor include a rough idle while the vehicle is stationary, in park, or running at idle in drive at a stoplight. Or if the RPM is surging noticeably without driver input. Whether you have a definite MAF code or are seeing any of these symptoms and you suspect the MAF sensor is the problem, you'll want to run a troubleshooting routine. First, check the wire harness connector for a correct fit and good contact. If you see issues such as corrosion, damaged pins, or pin slots, you may need to replace the connectors. Check the MAF sensor and sensor elements for damage if possible. If there's visible damage to the MAF sensor wires or the sensor assembly, you'll likely have to replace the unit. Switch the ignition on and check the voltage supply to the MAF after disconnecting the connector or by back probing the pins without disconnecting the connector. You'll need a circuit connector diagram for pin assignment. Check the manufacturer's specifications for the correct voltage. Typically, you should see a range of 5 to 14 volts. If you're not seeing the proper supply voltage, there's a problem outside of the MAF sensor, and you'll have to diagnose that issue. Next, check the MAF output signal. Reconnect the wiring harness to the MAF, and with the engine running, check the output voltage or frequency. To take a voltage measurement, connect the positive probe of the multimeter to the signal wire of the MAF sensor. Most vehicles have a 4-wire or more connector for the MAF sensor and the inlet air temperature sensor. Connect the negative probe to a known good ground. Check the manufacturer's spec for the correct range. Increase engine speed and observe if the voltage increases accordingly. If the MAF has a frequency function, as almost all newer vehicles do, connect your multimeter or scan tool to the MAF. If your multimeter displays frequency, the MAF sensor output will be a varying frequency that increases with airflow. If you're using a scan tool, you can monitor the MAF sensor's output in grams per second, voltage, or frequency. Compare your readings to the manufacturer's specifications for your vehicle. If the voltage or frequency is outside the expected range, or if the readings don't change with engine speed, it could indicate a faulty MAF sensor. If the readings are within spec, but you still suspect an MAF issue, check the output with an oscilloscope. This can provide a visual representation of the MAF sensor's signal waveform, which helps identify issues such as signal noise or instability. Turn off the engine. Disconnect the wiring between the MAF sensor and PCM. Check the continuity of the wiring between the control unit connector and the sensor connector, checking for the manufacturer's spec for the correct range. Once you've performed these troubleshooting steps, you should know whether your issue is coming from the MAF sensor or another source. If you need to replace the MAF sensor, follow the manufacturer's instructions and take care not to damage the sensing wires during installation. MAF sensors often fail due to contamination from dust, dirt, and other debris. More than 1,200 cubic feet of air can flow through the engine for every gallon of fuel used, and with all that air comes the potential for contamination that can damage a sensor in as few as 18,000 miles. Other common failure problems include contact faults at the electrical connections, damaged sensor elements, or mechanical damage from vibrations or accidents. Additionally, the measuring elements in the sensor can drift away from the set measuring parameters, necessitating the replacement of the MAF. I hope we've helped put you in a position to accurately diagnose MAF sensor operations. Subscribe to our channel below so you can refer to this video in the future and have access to other service videos from Delphi. And check out DelphiAutoparts.com for other great resources. I'm Connor with Delphi. Thanks for watching.